work off of this trip or something like that. And then, how to pick a place. I mean, last year, the place was picked by the eclipse. Mm-hmm. And, I had to do a lot of research, even though, why are you laughing?
Because I don't plan, you plan.
Yeah. So even though we went to Angela's hometown, I ended up finding places that I'd never been to before.
Completely. And they were fabulous.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so I tend to take the lead. I don't always do it on purpose.
We don't mind. I don't.
We don't mind.
I'm good with it.
You got to find what works for you in your friend group.
Yes.
Right? That's,
Totally.
We're okay with it.
As you can hear, I am not on my own this week because I am on my annual girls trip with some of my closest friends. And on today's Harness the Power of Planning podcast, we talk about the value of a girls trip as a form of self-care, what it takes for us to make this happen every year, and some of the fun things that we experienced on this trip on the next Harness the Power of Planning podcast, starting now.
It's amazing, all the...
Okay, so we're live. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for my Thursday live video cast and podcast. And I just have to get the tech going because, as you can see, I am not alone today. That is right. I have 3 of my girlfriends. I'm trying to check if anyone who's watching, if you can let me know if the audio is working. That would be amazing because I cannot hear myself yet on here. So, but let me just check one other thing. So these are my friends. Go ahead and introduce yourselves. Let's start with Angela to my right.
Hi, I'm Angela. Anything more specific, Alegre? Is that good enough?
Yeah, no, that's fine. If you want to say maybe where you live or how you spend your time.
In Indianapolis, I spend my time taking care of my daughter, my son, and my husband, as well as, doing my own consulting company. So
full life.
Yeah, it's pretty full, but not too full to be with you.
Nice. Okay. And Susan?
Hello, everyone. I'm Susan, and I'm coming to you from the frozen tundra of Minneapolis and St. Paul, where I live with my husband and my son. And I also consult as well. And I've known Alegre for almost 25 years.
Yes. Okay. And Christine?
Hi, Christine Keegan, born and raised in Los Angeles and now living in Frisco, Texas. And wow, we've known each other since we were 12. How long ago was that?
Is that 38 years? 38 years.
38 years.
So as you can see, I've known all these ladies for quite a while, and we are all together, even though we're on two screens. See, here's my hand. You can see they're right there. And yeah, I think the microphone's working fine so we only have one mic, the magic of technology. So if you watched my show last week, then I mentioned that I was going to have a special show this week because we are on our annual girls trip, or at least we endeavor to make it annual. And, I talk all the time about self-care as healthcare and how friends are a great part of self-care. And for me, these ladies, I've known them a long time, but none of us live in the same state. And while I do talk to them on the phone and we do chat together, we have a group chat together, there's nothing like getting together in person. It makes all the difference. And so we I think the first time we ever vacationed together, and Susan's kind of newer to the group because even though I've known Susan a really long time, we actually became friends like during our career. That's a whole nother story. Anyway, so I think you two met at my bachelorette party, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yes, we did.
And that was a lot of fun.
That was super fun.
That was great. And that was also a while ago.
And we can't talk about that.
And then we would all get together kind of on my big birthdays, right? I think the next big trip was maybe my 30th to the Grand Canyon.
That was
right?
hard. Yes.
That was amazing.
That was hard. What was hard about it?
A lot of hiking, a lot of outdoors.
Yeah.
So really exactly like right now, too.
The same.
Except we have
Except the
indoor
beach.
plumbing.
Right. We have indoor plumbing this time.
And so then we did get together before the pandemic because I had a trip to Texas for work. And so I had said to you all like, hey, let's meet in Texas, right? And that kind of firmly cemented this idea of, oh my gosh, it's so great to get together regularly. There's something that we get from each other that
Yes.
we really need. And so let's make it a regular thing.
Yeah.
And so this is our third year where it's been an annual trip. Right. Because it was
Your birthday, my house.
the eclipse. So anyway, so what I wanted to talk about is like how we got here in terms of logistically how we get here, because it's a lot of work preparing our families so that we can all be together for 10 to 14 days. Last time we came here, it was a little bit longer. So this time we decided 10 days was good. We did 14 days a couple years ago, and that was it seemed to push
The boundaries.
Yeah,
hard,
push
on,
the-
hard on the family.
Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah, part of that.
And so 10 days seems to be perfect. So what it takes to get here, and also, why we prioritize this. So if any of you want to answer, feel free.
Well, I can start by saying that I think physically getting together as opposed to just talking on the phone brings an energy that you just don't have if you're not like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mhm.
think for me, one of the things that I shared with my spouse is that when we're physically together, I feel just an energy and I think a renewal
Mhm.
that I think
Mhm.
makes me a better partner
Mm-hmm.
and a better mom. And it's refreshing.
Yes.
If that's the right word.
That's a great word. Yeah, refreshing. How about either of you?
Yeah, I find that when we come together, that the time we spend is always sort of a reset and sort of in life, and just an opportunity to sort of breathe and decompress and share time, share space that you don't normally have on a daily basis. And it's different with girlfriends than it is, with your family or, with your husband and, friends around, but sort of deep friendships. So that comes up, and I always go back home like rejuvenated
Yeah,
and sort of ready to conquer again,
Yeah.
like until the next time.
recharged.
Yes.
Right?
Like that.
Yeah.
We laugh so much.
And at the
What?
dumbest things.
Yes. Yes. Things that I think would be hard for other people to understand.
Yes. We don't even understand.
Right.
Okay, how about you?
And I just think being able to come together in a place so beautiful. Can we talk about where we are?
Yeah, sure.
So we're in Hawaii on the Oahu Island. And I just think coming together in such a magical place with, dear girlfriends just allows you kind of like what you said to rejuvenate, but also just take time out of the monotony. Like you're rushing and you're running and the quick text. And I'm horrible with text messaging. So I'm like the last one to
She's
respond.
always like silent.
I'm like 5 days later. Oh, I'm going to respond to that. So it's like, at least I really take the time to just invest, shut off the phones for the most part, and then just be here with these wonderful women. So that's rejuvenating.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because for me, I really only have two modes. I have go and then I have off. And so this is literally the first time I've turned on my computer since we've been here, because I've just been really enjoying the off, and just we've hiked almost every single day. We've seen almost every single sunrise.
I read an entire book.
When was the last time you did that?
Impressive.
A long time.
Yeah.
A long time.
Well, don't get it twisted, because Alegre is not off. Like, she's got on and partially on, because we've been planning, and she's planned our schedule. She's done everything. And so, she's the guru of planning. So,
Sure. There might have been a 6:30 a.m. wake up time here and there.
yeah, just so we
It's
could catch
okay.
the sunrise.
Yeah, there was definitely a spreadsheet, which, I like a spreadsheet, as these ladies know. And so the spreadsheet started. So I guess let's talk about how we make this happen sort of in a number of ways. Like the first thing I want to say is, for anyone thinking about doing a girls trip or a trip with your good friends, absolutely do it, because, we like to think humans connect virtually and by phone and stuff. And yes, to a certain degree, but it's very different sharing space with people. So make it happen. And maybe you can't do 10 days. We get it. We didn't start with 10 days. When I started taking time away from my family for myself, self-care, filling up your cup, I did it with, 2 days. I remember doing a yoga retreat when my child was about 11 months old. I think that was the first time that I took time away. And so you've heard us talk on the show before about the Kaizen method, which is about creating a wedge so that you can make space and little incremental changes. So, I went from 2 days to 3 days to 4 days to 5 days. So now that my child is 14, now we're up to, 10 to 14 days. And also, doing that wedge gave my family the confidence that they could do it without me. Because the thing that we talk about in our chat, especially in the run up to this trip, so like the last 10 days of this trip, we were all saying like, it's funny how our family's acting like this is the first time they've ever heard about this trip, even though I think we booked our tickets about 4 or 5 months ago, and we started talking about it maybe 6 or 7 months ago. So, the thing about the run up to the trip is that it can get a little bit frantic and chaotic, but you also have to realize that your family will grow into what they have to do without you because you take the time off. So,
yeah. And we talked about that if you're not giving your family space to grow into handling more, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
It's hard to step into something when there's no space for your partner, your children to pick up more. So that's also important.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I was shocked that how supportive my husband and son were for this trip. And the reason why, 2 things. So last year when we went to Alegre's birthday at the Eclipse, I think you mentioned this there. So I was like, oh my gosh, I told my husband, we're going to do this next year for her birthday. And so then fast forward, Hawaii. And then like what my husband does is just keep talking about it, which is what I've been doing. But I didn't mention the birthday since last year. So lo and behold, like a week ago, I was like, oh my gosh, I have this work thing, whatever. And he was like, oh, you have to go though. It's her birthday. I was like, should I come back a day early, 2 days early? He's like, oh, you can't do that. He's like, it's her birthday. You have to go. So like the birthday thing kind of gave it carte blanche. So I didn't correct him and say it's not. I just
He's like,
went
her
with
birthday
it.
seems to move around.
He doesn't remember. So he just thought it was your birthday. So I went with it. So he was actually happy and supportive. He was still frantic, but he wasn't upset at all. He was good.
It's interesting too, because we've had get-togethers at different times of the year, and we have found that this time period seems to work really well.
It does.
Because it's after the holidays, but before spring break. And
Kids
so
are in school. Right.
it's a low travel season, and you have enough time to sort of get home and do stuff again before you might have to travel for spring break or something like that. So yeah, if you're looking for times, this, the first week of February seems to be a good time. Although you might want to be home by Valentine's Day, because we ran into some grief over that when our trip ran into Valentine's Day.
Distance apparently does make the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
But I think too, the other thing is that our families have met each other, so they do know how important it is that we spend time together, and they see how much we enjoy each other's time. And there are definitely times when in the lead up to coming here when you're just like, oh my gosh, it'd be so much easier to just stay home and not have to answer all these questions and figure everything out. But I would just say stick with it, because everyone gets better because of it, and it only gets easier. It really has gotten easier.
Yeah. And I would say that, I have the luxury of tapping into family to help. I know not everyone does that, but I would encourage you, if that's an opportunity, to ask, because you have to trust people to say no if they can't step in to help. But if they can, it might put you at ease to go away, and it might put your family in a comfortable place knowing they're going to have some help. So I think that, for me, that gives me a lot of relief. And I know for my spouse, that gives him a lot of relief to have my mom there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't have the opportunity where I live because my family's not close, but it sort of forced me to do some things differently, like our first trip, which I didn't think I'd ever do this, which would be to let my daughter spend the night during a weeknight at a friend's house. But there were a couple of key things that my husband needed to do for work, like all-day training or major projects. And so it's like, it's going to be a lot for him to take on my responsibilities, do his responsibilities, this extra project for work. and all of the afternoon activities that my daughter was engaged in. So I literally, like Chris said, ask. I had a conversation with one of my girlfriends who, our kids do spend the night sometimes with each other. And she was like, well, I can pick her up on Friday after school. And do you mind if she just stays the weekend? I'll take her to church with us. We'll do a girls thing.
Fun.
And I was like, my girl gets a girl weekend. Will I have a girl weekend?
Yeah,
Now she's going to start
yeah.
to understand the importance of getting away and
Yeah.
being with girlfriends. I've done that a couple of times. And then, thought about canceling some things with my daughter's afternoon programs to make it easier on my husband. And then I said, nope, that's not fair. He can do it.
Right.
He'll do it differently. Granted,
Yes.
let her stay at aftercare longer than I would, but no big deal. They do it differently.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I definitely did some things though to make it easier for my husband. So I did grocery shopping beforehand. I asked them the week before, what groceries do you want? What do you all plan on making? My daughter's 14 and she's been cooking for a long time. I was the mom who didn't give her child safety knives. She never had child safety knives. We never had the child-proofing things on the burners at the stove. Like she was cooking very young. So she was like, oh, I'll make tacos one night and I'll make kebab another night. So I bought all the supplies for that. And then, just loaded them all up with all the things that they would need. And at the 48-hour mark, my husband was like, wait, what are we going to do with Lulu, our dog? Because usually one of us is home to be with her. And I said, we've always had, like, Lulu, why are you only thinking of this now? But Lulu does do my morning hikes with me with some of our friends in Los Angeles. And so I asked two of those friends, if Lulu had to spend the day with you, would that be possible? And they said, sure, no problem. And then there was one day when my husband had to go into work when he usually works from home. And I was able to arrange pickup for my daughter. And so, it was nothing for me. It was just a text message. And so I was like, I'll just help you take care of that. So definitely the more you can do that, the easier it'll be as they get used to this, managing without you.
That's great. For me, I had to, for my boys, it's all about the food. So I had to pre-prepare 2 different meals. So I made just like
you cooked.
I actually cooked. I pre-cooked. So I made the bolognese for the first couple days, of course, leftovers. And then I also pre-made a chicken curry, put that in the freezer and then just thaw that out. So the dinners were taken care of. And I've been ordering Starbucks. This was something I didn't expect. I've been ordering Starbucks through DoorDash in the mornings because I typically wake up and do the breakfast sandwiches. And my husband can do it as well, but it's such a tight time frame for when my son gets up on the bus. So he just realized logistics are too much. So he's like, can you order a DoorDash? So I've been doing that every morning and they've had sandwiches.
Plus it's like you're thinking of them. So that's really nice.
Sending my love.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you want to say something?
Well, no, the only thing that I sort of have to do, like cooking is not my area in the house, right? So mine is sort of the education of the child and making sure homework and things get done. And so at our school, they give you the whole week of study. Like everything is pretty routine, this day's going to be math. This day's going to be this. Friday's recitation. There's going to be a spelling test. So just sort of making sure all that's out and extra copies of blank tests such that Rudge could just hand it to her like, hey, after you study, see if you can do this. And if not, quiz you on this. Just sort of giving him a routine and a pattern to follow so that she doesn't get a little discombobulated that dad does it completely differently, especially when it comes to studying, because she just sort of, that's her anxiety point.
And I am going to create a countdown to girls trip plan for you all to get at some point. So if you go to my website, bywdreams.com, and you can sign up for my mailing list, you'll get an email. At some point, I'm going to put something together because we have done this enough that I kind of have a plan, which is, we start talking about it 8 to 7 months beforehand, usually because I know something's happening in my schedule. I'm like, oh, we can, work off of this trip or something like that. And then, how to pick a place. I mean, last year, the place was picked by the eclipse. And, I had to do a lot of research, even though, why are you laughing?
Because I don't plan, you plan.
Yeah. So even though we went to Angela's hometown
That's not my hometown. I'm from Tennessee.
Okay, but you've lived there how long?
Okay, since 2001.
2 decades.
Okay.
Okay. So even though we were going to the place where Angela lives,
Yes.
Thank you.
I ended up finding places that she'd never been to before.
Completely. And they were
Like,
fabulous.
that's awesome.
Yeah. And so I tend to take the lead. I don't always do it on purpose.
We don't mind. I don't.
We
But
don't mind.
I'm good with it.
You got to find what works for you and your friend
Right.
group.
Yes.
Right. That's, we're
Totally.
okay with it.
So I definitely plan most things, but I'm also flexible. I'm like,
Mhm.
well, we could do this, but we could also just do nothing.
Yeah.
Because if you saw me talking about the eclipse plan, I said I plan for spontaneity and free time. So
Yes.
yes, I have
That's
days
good.
when there's like this, and then there'll be days when, well, we could do this, or we could just read a book or play a board game or watch a stand-up comedy show as we've
Mhm.
done during our time here. But also I think, so if you have a planner, great. If you don't have someone in your group who's a major planner, I would then suggest picking a place that you've been to before. Like for me, it's easy to plan a trip in Hawaii because I've been coming here my whole life and I know the area really well. So that it's like hardly any work for me, if you will. And then if you find a place that you like, which my friends really enjoy coming here, you can just kind of rinse and repeat because it is easy for me. And so I find that there's a lot more decompression when you're returning to a place rather than going there for the first time.
Mhm.
Sure.
So you can just kind of, relax into it. So that's really fun. And then one other thing we do is in terms of the expenses, we actually all take turns paying for things. And then again, I love a spreadsheet. We just put it into a spreadsheet and we figure out, okay, so-and-so paid this much, so-and-so paid this much. So one person needs to pay another person $30 and we're square.
How to make it even.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It works out really well. So it's actually that's never the big deal that some people might think it could be.
Yeah. And remember, like, we get that this location is pretty prime, but obviously it's really about your friend group. So whether it is Texas or Indy, wherever you happen to be able to go, even a staycation with your girlfriends, again, is something that we think is just nourishing for the soul. So I think that's why we were so excited to talk about this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think because I am the planner, I do kind of get first say in suggestions. And so we do things that you see I like, such as hiking.
Great.
And I'm
Good food.
and I'm a big food
Mhm.
person.
Great.
Exactly. So, if you decide to take the lead on planning something for your friends, you could put that out there like, hey, I tend to like bowling and boating or whatever. Are you okay with that? Or are there things you want to do?
Mhm.
And yeah, it's interesting because all of these ladies, these two, where's my hand? These two actually, it's funny because they met before I introduced them. So it's
Yeah.
kind of funny that they ended up knowing each other. But
Could come back around.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes,
come back
yes,
around.
yeah.
So, but it's interesting because it's not like we were roommates or anything like that. And so it was interesting because at
Well,
first,
we were, but
well, you and I, but not all together, right?
Sure,
Because
right.
it was
Yes.
because everyone that we've met, oh yeah, Korean spas. That's the other thing I like to do, right? So we've gone to Korean spas. But it's funny because anytime we meet someone who has some time to ask us questions, they're like, "Oh, so you're all from California?" Because I'm from California. I'm like, well, no.
No.
And then we all tell where they're from. And they're like, wait, so how do you know each other? We don't understand. And so we were walking with one of our neighbors here, and she was saying, oh, it's so interesting how you all know each other kind of in different ways. And she's like, I kind of have a group of friends like this. Like we all went to college together. We were roommates together. So like, great. If you have that, like a group of people that you live together, great, do that. I think this actually took longer to come together as an annual trip because I felt like a little like, well, am I just doing something for me because I want to see these people and they're not actually going to enjoy each other? But when
I tolerate Chris.
I was waiting for that.
But bring it up. You'd be surprised. Like they all get along wonderfully,
Yeah.
have their own friendships.
Right. And remember that, friendships ebb and flow, right? We went to different high schools. I moved to Oklahoma. Sometimes you're having kids at different stages of life, or, business school, careers get in the way, and be okay with that. Know that that's normal and natural in friendships, and you can come back together and have experiences like we've had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you have different people, like there are ladies that I get to see regularly during the week because we live closer together. And while I'd love to include them in this trip, it would just get so big. And I'm grateful that I get to see them on a regular basis. And so for the trip, we kind of prioritize this group of people who I just don't get to see regularly. So that might be, one way to think about it. But yes, things ebb and flow. The youngest kiddo in our group is 8. And it's definitely gotten easier as they're all getting older.
Yes.
Wait.
No, she's got me beat.
Oh, okay.
I'm 9.
Oh,
going
okay,
on
9.
10.
Okay. So it's definitely gotten easier as we've gone on.
Mm-hmm.
So he was 6 the first time we did like a longer trip.
Right.
So
yeah. And it's interesting. I would have thought it was getting easier since they're older and my mom's moved in with me, but my husband actually texted me and said, I could not imagine being a single parent. And I thought, imagine having a baby, going back to work and still doing all of this stuff, but hang in there.
Right. You can do it.
I believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I do want to say that I do encourage my spouse to do his own friend trips. So
Yeah, I do too. He doesn't.
Yes.
I need to find a planner in his group.
Yeah. Let's get our spouses together.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I do think they'd have fun.
Yeah.
I think so.
Except that, I don't know. My husband's not a planner either because
Mine's not. How about it?
Not really.
Andrew and I are very similar. So he is a foodie. He would find amazing places for the husbands to eat.
Okay.
Yeah. Reg would appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll have to figure that out. Maybe
my husband would plan the hikes. That's about all he would plan.
Yeah.
It'll come together.
So what's been your favorite thing that maybe surprised? What's been something surprising that we've done during this trip that you were like, I don't know about that, but oh my gosh, I love this. I feel like I know the answer for you.
Well, the hiking?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just like shocked to meet someone other than my husband who loves to hike. And so as we've been going on these hikes, I've been like texting my husband or calling him on the hike. And I'm like, look where we are. Oh my gosh. And he usually tortures me. And I usually say that I hate it because he likes to hike too long. And he's ecstatic. He will support any trip with you because he's like, you're making my wife really love it. Because the last time I went on the hike, I told him I'm never going to hike again. He made me hike for like 8 hours.
Well, it sounds like you just have to go on shorter hikes.
I love short hikes. Short hikes I love.
So yeah, just like you keep going.
Yeah.
I will stop here.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was the vegan sushi because I think the last time I went to a vegan restaurant was with Alegre in New York.
That place was amazing.
It was incredible. And as was this place.
Right.
The food was amazing. You would not miss meat and
wait, it's so hilarious. So we go.
I know.
So they're like, so where are we going tonight? I was like, we're going to a vegan
restaurant. We got to give them the backstory.
Okay.
That Alegre is a veganish.
Vegan.
I eat mostly plant-based.
Yeah, mostly plant-based. And so I'm like, this is going to be a wonderful trip. Okay. And so had we had any meat at that point?
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, like, come on.
Yeah, you did. You did order something pork at the Vietnamese restaurant.
Oh, but I had to like
Clearly
get permission. Almost. Literally. It was
I didn't say you had to get
Alegre
permission.
was ordering at the Vietnamese place, right? And so everything was coming back pretty vegan. And I was like, can we get some pork? And they're like, oh yeah. And Christine, I think you enjoyed it.
Oh, delicious.
Right.
Delicious.
Okay. So that's setting the stage. First meal here. So, and I'm thinking 14 days ago.
I never said you couldn't have meat.
No,
you told me, hey, you order. So I started ordering. Yeah. So anyway, I said, we're going to this great vegan place, which I realize now I should have just said, we're going to this exceptional restaurant that happens to be vegan.
Yes.
Because I wouldn't take my friends to a vegan place without warning if I didn't know they were going to love it. And so this place is actually really, really special. I knew that they would enjoy it because it's just so unique, so creative. And so So you really loved it.
It was fantastic, but I thought you were going to say my favorite.
Oh,
quote
sorry, the
of
quote.
Right.
So the
right.
hilarious
Actually,
thing.
wait, it was absolutely fantastic. Let me just put it out there
Yes.
first. But I had this fear that I was going to be here for 14 days in Hawaii and no pork, no meat,
Mhm.
no
Right,
nada.
yeah. So
Mhm.
what was it that you asked Alegre when she very clearly said we were going to a vegan restaurant?
I was like, is there any meat?
Yes. Is there any meat?
Because
Well,
And
it's
she
a
said it like that.
vegan
Is there
restaurant.
any meat? No, this is not my big fat Greek wedding.
Right,
Lamb
like-
is not considered vegetarian.
That's right. Yeah.
right, but it wasn't really just for the restaurant. For me, I was looking at the whole entire
Oh,
vacation.
you were thinking the whole time. Is
Yeah.
that-
So it was
this
just
is the first time we're hearing this.
That's okay. That
clarification.
does kind of change the.
I know. I was wondering why you thought it was so funny. I was like, I just felt like I was going to be here with no meat
I really
for
thought-
14 days.
I was thinking that you were asking if there was like a secret off menu.
Right, that's
that
what it was.
sometimes restaurants have.
Animal style.
Right.
No, I'm pretty sure there's no
It's a vegan.
secret. Okay, that actually makes more sense.
You have like a chicken in the back. You
Right.
wait for me.
Okay, so for you, it's the vegan restaurant. For you, it's the hiking. How about for you?
Well, it wasn't surprising. Oh, it was surprising. So we do the Korean, we go to Korean spot every time we come here.
Are you about to take off your shirt? You look
Right?
But take a
We
look.
show you.
No. But no, the
Oh, yeah, we
most
can.
wonderful. No, we can't. They can't see us.
They can't see.
I don't think mine shows.
Yeah, you've got a
Does
little.
mine show?
It
Like
actually
cupping,
doesn't.
right
It's
here.
mostly gone away.
Oh,
It's very
it's
hard to
fine.
see. Okay, you can see a couple.
Yeah, this one.
I don't know
Right.
if
I
they
was
can
attacked
see.
by an
Yeah.
octopus.
Yeah.
Can you see those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so wonderful. So yeah,
Hurts
So-
so good.
yeah, it hurt so good. She beat me up, and she did cupping, and it really opened up an injury that I had, and it's feeling really good. And so I didn't expect that spa would help me sort of
Very
get my
healing.
body, back in a good space. So when I think about trying to maintain that when I go home,
Mhm.
so yeah,
There were also some firsts. So your first Korean spa.
It was
Right?
mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Susan's first Korean spa, which for those of you who don't know, Korean spas are butt naked, which I think is really great in terms of, just normalizing all the human bodies. And we also went to Cirque du Soleil here, and that was Angela's
Mhm.
first Cirque. And she was saying how her mind was blown.
yeah.
Beautiful.
So that was really fun
Yeah.
to see your first experience. Were there any firsts for you?
There will be today when I golf where you got
Hmm.
married.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Oh, wait.
Really fun.
We did have two other firsts.
Mm.
First time I was in for 5 minutes in the cold
Oh,
plunge.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
And you were
First
fabulous.
time I was in a cold plunge.
cold
And she
plunge.
did it for 5
Yes.
minutes. Too.
Yeah.
After screaming the first time.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You did it.
Oh my gosh, I thought we were gonna get kicked out of there for sure.
I did
You all,
too.
you
I
all
couldn't
were
stop
so
screaming.
loud.
That's loud.
So, anything else that you want to add?
Well, I'll just say, having these trips, you really are able to learn about your friends more. Like, I knew Alegre was vegetarian, vegan, but to actually be here and experience it, and that's all she's eating, and I can actually sort of try it on, and which is a little bit eating healthy. And then the hiking thing, I knew you did hikes every morning because I've seen, your various, things about that, but it was wow, you really love hiking and you can do it for hours.
Yes.
It just helped me to get to know you even better. So
Yeah.
great appreciation for the different things that your
Yeah.
friends love.
And it can be easy to be very protective of your friend group, but it's important, if a friend says, hey, there's somebody I think you're really going to enjoy, be open to that. This was the first time that we met.
Mhm.
And you're fabulous.
Oh,
Aw.
you. I'm so delighted to be here and that you guys have allowed me in your circle. I feel very thankful.
Yay! So, hopefully, this inspired you to think about how you can plan a trip with your friends. It's absolutely wonderful, and especially in this day and age where it's so easy to lose contact with
Yeah.
people. It's so important to find your people and spend time with them in person. Oh, I'm tearing up now.
Aw, no
So-
crying. We said no crying.
No crying.
So thank you for joining me, and dream wild dreamers. And if you want to listen to this again, you can always check out the Harness the Power of Planning podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Bye.
Bye.
If you want to take your planning skills to the next level, consider taking the Harness the Power of Planning workshop. It's available on demand at tinyurl.com/HPOP on demand, all one word. That's tinyurl.com/HPOP on demand. We'll show you how to plan your day, your week, your month, your year, your life, and help you to start prioritizing yourself and your goals right now. Dream wild, wild dreamers. Thanks for joining us for the Harness the Power of Planning podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you listen.